Today I fucked up by sticking a suction cup dildo onto the wall. Both my BF and I can be childish AF sometimes, and the pre-teen humor is very strong in us. So a while ago, a chimney sweeper came over to check our gas water heater, for the lack of a better word. BF let her in and woke me up, cause he had to leave for work. I said hi and told her where she'd find me in case I needed something. Then I made myself comfortable in the living room. Then, suddenly it dawned me. A couple of weeks prior I had stuck a suction cup dildo to our bathroom wall, about as high as an average person's head would be. I had thought my BF would find it hilarious to step into the shower and be greeted a big wiggly dildo. FYI, we have a bathtub and the water heater is mounted on the wall above it. So, I realized that poor lady, who just wanted to do her job, had to work with a dildo longer than my hand within a meter of her face, and went into slight panic mode. In the end, I left the dildo where it was, partly because I was still panicking, and partly because I figured it'd be way more awkward if I removed it. Imagine finding a dildo in a stranger's bathroom and them coming to get a few minutes after letting you in. She was pretty quick to finish her work. I tipped her and she left. I'm sure her company will never send their workers to our place anymore without a notice. Too long didn't read, stuck a suction cup dildo to our shower wall for shits and giggles, forgot about it. Chimney sweeper had to work on our gas water heater with that dildo within 1 meter of her face. Edit, the chimney sweeper checked the gas powered water heater and the chimney, and I tipped her because in my place it's quite common to tip a contractor if they did their job well. Don't worry, my dad used to work in HVAC and went into a man's apartment. For some reason the controls were in the bathroom. He opened up the door and the walls, floor, and shower were covered in suction cup dildos. He says roughly 30 dildos. My dad looked around, looked at the man, then looked at his intern and made him fix it while he stood in the hallway. Deleted. I can tell you for a fact that it happens all the time. I used to deliver appliances and I could take a week to tell you all the bizarre and weird things I've seen in people's houses. Don't feel bad about it lol. Edit, I replied in the comments somewhere. Just a quick version of a couple of things. The real question is, why was the dildo still there weeks later? Either oh yeah I need to take that down then proceeds to forget about it. Rinse, repeat, pun intended. Or may I present you with the people a lazy explanation. It's still funny to them weeks later. But may I'd cock. At least you weren't trying to make them see it. My father was a painter and has many stories about women wearing as little as they can, or nothing at all, while they were painting away. My grandpa delivered fuel oil. This was in the 50s. He would drive his truck out, hook up, deliver the oil, and then the customers would give him a check. He lived out in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, and most of his deliveries were to houses even more remote. I guess when he showed up, some women answered the door in next to nothing, even in the winter, and flirted with him relentlessly. He was really attractive but also very loyal to my grandma. He was a bit of a flirt but it didn't go any further than that. People would try to get him in trouble with my grandma and she used to say, those other women can feel flattered to have his attention for 10 minutes. But when I walk into a room his attention turns fully to me. And he always comes home to me. Edit, fixed a janky sentence that didn't come across right. Also, my grandpa never cheated. I don't expect everyone on the internet to believe me. This isn't my first day here. Sweet, kind, loyal men do exist. To anyone that doesn't believe that, I'm sorry you've been through enough shit to make you that jaded. Revolving hearts. I once stuck a suction cup dildo to a wall right after washing it and not drying it all the way. Way later on, when I was about to move, my now husband plucked it off the wall and to our dismay, a perfect circular paint bubble had formed underneath. It was huge, looked like a giant cyst on the wall. 0-10 do not recommend. Today I fucked up by complimenting my dates, but update, I, 32F, went on my first date in nearly a year last night. We met on a dating app. He, 33M, was pleasant and polite, but for me, there was no romantic feelings, and while I had a nice time, I wasn't interested in seeing him again. We parted ways with a smile and texted each other that we got home safely. I went to bed. This morning, he sent me a somewhat lengthy text about how he had a wonderful time, felt a lot of chemistry, and couldn't wait to hang out again. I was hesitant on the best way to respond, so I sat on it for a while. Eventually, in the middle of unloading groceries and wrangling my toddler, I decided I was being a jerk by not replying, and grabbed my phone to bite the bullet and send a "thanks, you're great, but not the one for me"-esque message. Except instead, I typed what I thought was thanks and hit send accidentally. That would have been fixable, but it didn't say thanks. As it turns out, my phone instead auto-corrected my message to that ass. So I've now sent this dude I meant to let down gently a text message aggressively complimenting his butt. It's been 15 minutes, he has not yet responded, and it's been too long for me to quickly own the screw up. So here I sit. TL, doctor, I complimented a guy's ass instead of saying I don't want to go out with him again. Follow up with, might be fine to someone else but it's a no from me, dog. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Sorry op, this gave me the biggest chuckle. I'm getting mixed signals here. That poor guy is completely confused. He hasn't answered because he's completely, absolutely clueless as what to think or do. Send another message that says, is not enough for me to want to go out with you again. Fixed, D. Okay, you can still say this, just say you were busy, wanted to say thanks, but it auto-corrected, and you didn't notice you sent it until now when you were scrolling through your messages and saw it. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Today I fucked up by not just drinking water and giving myself hemorrhoids. Obligatory, this happened last week. I finally confessed to my wife and she nearly died laughing before telling me to share it with you all. Some backstory, my wife and I have been living in an apartment for the last 2 years, and we finally decided to buy a house in a new development. With COVID putting a strain on supply lines, our closing date got pushed back nearly 2 months and we ended up going month to month on our rent. We delayed giving our 30-day move-out notice until we had a solid closing date and ended up having the apartment for an extra 3 weeks. Plenty of time to clean, I suppose. Moving day came, and we got everything out except for some cleaning supplies and tools, and the contents of the fridge. We wanted to make sure we didn't have any delays before loading up all the chilled stuff for a quick trip. One afternoon while my wife was at work, I was back at the apartment cleaning. I was about to wrap up when I get extremely thirsty. I didn't want to stop anywhere to grab a drink, so I looked into the fridge. All that was left was about 3 ounces of apple juice, and nearly a full jug of prune juice, which we had used to ease our newborn's constipation. You can probably see where this is going. Being the genius that I am, I thought there's no way prune juice would affect me, a nearly 200 pounds adult, like it did for our 15 pounds infant, so I grabbed the jug and head home. On the 30-minute drive, I drank roughly 16 ounces, or 2 full servings of prune juice. I was pleasantly surprised with the taste. Shortly after I got home, I began working on dinner when I suddenly got the urge to use the restroom. I thought, okay, maybe the juice did get something moving. Not bad. I was so wrong. Over the course of the next 2 hours, I had about 15 jet stream, fire hose, 100% liquid explosions into my porcelain throne. I could barely go 10 minutes without having to rush to the loo for another round. Thankfully I was cooking chili, so it pretty much took care of itself while the prune juice took care of me, though it no longer seemed appetizing at this point. The rest of the evening my gut was making awful rumbling noises which caused my wife to think that an alien was going to burst out of my stomach. At this point, it was all just gas, thankfully. I also ended up with bulging hemorrhoid for my troubles. It turns out that prunes contain sorbitol, which is a much more powerful laxative that I gave it credit for. Too long didn't read, got thirsty, decided to drink prune juice, got the squirts, ended up with a giant hemorrhoid for a few days. This almost looks like a review for those Haribo gummy bears on Amazon lol. The sugar-free gummy bears. I know how it feels. I once had a whole bottle of prune juice after watching Worf drink it on Star Trek. Possibly the most excruciating stomach pain I have ever encountered. Zero sleep that night. In true Homer style, I did the same thing the next day to see if it was indeed the prune juice. It was. So, replicability is an important part of scientific findings. At least you made it home instead of being stuck at the apartment that you were vacating. Oh God, I don't want to think about what would have happened if it started during my drive. A warrior's drink. Ah yes, sorbitol. I mean, sorbitol.